Hey guys, it's me, Kayden. Um, I decided I wanted to make a quick video um, to answer a question that I know that I've never actually touched on. I've talked about sexuality, but I've never actually talked about my specific sexuality. Um, and I was going to make a blog, but then I realized that people don't like to read. Um, I do have a Tumblr. If anybody wants to follow it, I'll put it below this video. Feel free. I write something just about every day or every other day. Um, yeah, so back to the topic. So, for 10 years of my life prior to transitioning, and a little while during transition, when I first started transitioning, um, I dated solely women. So people are always really confused as to how or why or whatever that I now date men. Um, and I'm going to try to explain that to you the best way I know how. So, 10 years ago, I was 19. Gosh, yeah, well, 10 years ago doesn't matter. For 10 years, so I've been dating men now for 5 years. So I was 24. 10 years before that was 14. That's when I started dating women. I was in high school, and um, honestly, prior to that, I did date men. Um, I liked men. I was attracted to men. Um, However, I didn't like dating men and being seen as female. It made me uncomfortable. Something about it just made me very, very uncomfortable. I didn't like feeling like female. I don't know how else to put it. Um, so, um, while I had never really thought about dating women, I always dressed on the masculine side. Well, when my mother allowed me to. But at this time, I was at a place where I was dressing myself and I was working so that I could pay for my own clothes because my mother did not want to pay for. She didn't want to pay for my masculine clothes, so I had to buy them myself. So one day I was in school at lunch, and I'll never forget this day as long as I live. And I was sitting with my friend who I played football with. Her name was Paula. And there was this girl. TC was her name. I don't remember what her real name was, but everybody called her TC. And she looked over at me and she was like, "Are you gay?" And I just sat there and I was like, "No." And my friend Paula, who was straight, she was like, "Hell no, my dog ain't gay, blah 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 blah." And TC said, "Well, you should be." And something clicked in my brain because she was like a feminine female, and the way she the way she addressed me and the way she referred to me, it made me feel masculine. It made me feel good. Like I felt really good about that. So I was like, okay, so this is what it's like to date women. I guess this is what I'm supposed to do if I'm not feeling how um, I feel when I'm with men. Now that sounds stupid, but I was young. So, we all go through things and we figure things out. Mind you, I'm still attracted to women. I just have a preference for men. Um, so that went on for 10 years. Not TC, but just dating women. Um, but I was never faithful. I was never, something was missing. Um, and there was a few things missing. I wasn't happy in my body, and I wasn't happy in those relationships in my body. Um, it's easy to develop like a very comfortable spot in the lesbian community because it's like I hate saying this because it pisses lesbians off, but it's like a cult. Like you're there and you feel this sense of belonging and this sense of, community that you can get very, very comfortable in. And that is what happened to me. As time progressed, I went from dating feminine women to dating more masculine women. I liked women that dressed in masculine clothing and identified as a stud or a butch. And really, I was really attracted to gay men. I was always attracted to gay men. I remember the first time I saw a gay man on the bus when I was in high school. I just sat there and stared. But I knew that that wasn't a possibility. Somebody who was identifying as female, being with somebody that identified as male, and not to mention, I didn't want to be a female with a male. I wanted to be male with a male. I just didn't know how to put that into fruition. I didn't know how that could be possible. So I was kind of settling. Yes, ex-girlfriends, I was settling. So when I started transitioning, I was still dating women because, when you first start transitioning, you usually have a few people that you like look up to or that are kind of like mentoring you. Because being brought up as female, obviously you don't have the same mannerisms as all of the same mannerisms as someone who was brought up as male. Like you may not know how to tie a tie, or you may not know, what length your pants are supposed to be, things like that. You know what I mean? And I was being told that I would never be accepted as male if I dated men. So I was having this heteronormative lifestyle just basically shoved down my throat. And I was like, okay, well, at least I'm being more comfortable with who I am. But I went from having a depression about not living my truth, in other words, not transitioning, to transitioning and being happier, but still not living my full truth. Like, I knew that I liked men, and it was something that I was taught to be ashamed of. I was conditioned over these years, over this decade, to be ashamed that I was attracted to men, and that's who I wanted to date. So I started like low key dating trans men, and then when I moved up, I was living in Atlanta at the time, and when I moved up to Philadelphia, I decided, fuck it, I'm going to be who I want to be. I say all this to say, it had nothing to do with me taking testosterone. The testosterone helped create the outer appearance to match my inner appearance. And that made me more comfortable to be myself and do the things that I wanted to do rather than to let society shape what I wanted to do and who I want to date and who I wanted to love. You would be surprised what a big impact society has on you, and you probably don't even realize it. This has proven true for me as far as how I was expressing myself prior, from that to religion, to who I was dating, to a lot of the things that I thought were the only acceptable ways of living. I've grown to just fully accept that everything is not supposed to be understood. Everything does not have to fit neatly into a box. We can be whoever we decide we want to be, and that's perfectly okay. My truth is, I am a transgender man who loves men that doesn't necessarily hate my body, and therefore I use it as I see fit. So for those who say, oh, so you transition from female to male just to date men, understand that, one, gender is over here, sexuality is over here. It's not a big clusterfuck. One has to do with who you express yourself as gender-wise. The other one has to do with who you love. Two, just because I'm transgender does not mean that I have to reject every part of my body. It doesn't mean that I hate my body, and it doesn't mean that I have to rush out and get surgeries to appease your brain. Because my brain is okay. I'm doing okay over here. And I do what feels good for my body, just like you do what feels good for your body. And what feels good to my body might be sex. However, I decide that I want to have sex. I mean, it's really as cut and dry as that. I don't know how much sense I just made. I hope that I was able to get my point across the way I wanted to. I'm actually in the kitchen right now, about to cook up some dinner before the family gets home from school and work. And yeah, so that's it. Peace.